Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about data transforms which plays key role in our development. So data transforms uses are many, but the basic things we can do properties or to set values like static properties we can set from page to page, we can set from pages to page list and page list to page and page to page list. So based on the actions we select, usage will be deferred. First of all, data transforms can be found in data model, and if you see here, these are the data transforms that are available in our system. There would be OTP data transforms as well. If you want to create data transforms, you can go here and you can click create. Data transforms main usage is to achieve some functionality like property mapping or calling some functions. All these things can be achieved from data transform, and these are instances of rule obj model. For example, here if you go, you can see this is a sample data transform. It's a definition tab, parameters tab, where you can define some parameters over here, and you can make it mandatory or not mandatory as well, whether it's an in the parameter or out parameter you can specify over here. And these are pages and classes. Like in all the rules we can define some pages over here and we can refer in our data transform. These are specifications and this is the history. So coming to action, so there are many actions given in data transform like set. To set a value, suppose you want to set some date, you can see give some value over here like 30 04 2022 for example. Always if you have some property, you can just give a dot, and if you click on and if you just scroll down, you can see all the properties that are there. So here I have given page create date time. Suppose if you want to remove date property on a page, you can give a remove like this. So during runtime when we call this respective property will be removed. And this is update page. Suppose you want to update some page with some value like here primary page. If I want to update, I have to specify relation. If you want values from a static or some function, you can give this. Otherwise, if you know that there are some values existing in some other source, you have to specify relation over here like this. If you want relation from other source, you can specify that page list or a page. Suppose if I am having page of address list, so obviously address list is a page list. Now I have defined an index, we can refer it as a page over here. And if you click dot, see, you can select some value over here. So you can do a property set like this. You can update a respective page. Now this is update data transform. If you want to call another data transform, suppose if here I'm having map address records, this is another data transform. I can call another data transform from here also. If you have some parameters to be passed to this data transform, be sure to click these settings and give this pass current parameter page, so that all the parameters that are required would be passed across all the data transforms. And this is sort, I will explain you later. And this is comment. Suppose there are like 100 lines of code and you are not sure like for what you have written this, you can just give some comments on this, and it will be helpful for developers if you maintain this comment so that for any changes it would be easy to recollect those. And you can specify some one rule for each page. And so suppose you are having a page list and you want to loop through the page list, like in traditional Java program we have for loop, right? Not only Java, any programming language. So suppose if you want to loop some record, so obviously page list in a sense it contains more than one record. So if you want to loop, you can use this for each page in, and you can see this. There is a helper text over here like page list or group. If you click dot, say this is a page list, that's why. And if you want to loop this page list and you want this page list to be sourced in the while giving the values. Suppose here I want to look through this page list, but I want values from another page like primary dot billing amount. I can give like this. Suppose if I want to look through this page list and the source also the values are also present in this page list. Just select this checkbox. Now if you click dot, see, you got the record that belongs to data address class. Previously, if I did not give this and click dot, work class properties has been come. Why? Because our respect to data transform is in this class. Okay, as I said earlier, we can use some setting icons for building some expressions. Normally our page list have indexes, right? Now if I have said like address list of 1, address list of 2, so here 1 and 2 is nothing but an index. Like how we have an array starts with 0, 1, 2. So here our page list index starts from 1, 2, 3 and so on. So you want to add an element. Suppose you have address list of 1. So you want to add address list of 2 values. So instead of hard coding 1 and 2, it's good practice you to use these particular syntaxes. Okay. Suppose this is address list 1. Now I'm looping through this particular page list. And another thing, if you do right click here, you can see add sibling above, below, add child. Suppose now we are in step 1. If I click on add sibling above, this would become 2. I am here and I want to add a sibling below. It will be 3. Like in essence 2 and 3. And if I want a step of 1.2, then I have to select like add child. Okay, here set some value and you feel like that value might be required or may not be required, and you're not sure about that. So in that scenarios you can just go for disabling the data transform, so that while executing this respect to data transform, the disabled steps will be ignored from the execution process. Now I'm again enabling it. Yeah, coming to page list, suppose here I'm setting some values in my page list. Dot underline 1, dot underline 2. I'm giving some random values, 23 16 60. Okay, now after this page list, what I want to do is I want to add another value to this. Here if loop comes here, right, if there are values in that page list, then only this loop will be executed. Suppose here address list 1 is having postal code and state, but it does not have address line 1 and address line 2. Then if you give this loop, as there are records, like in clipboard also, if you see under address list there will be a page list icon. So if there are records, then only it will enter this, otherwise it will be ignored over here. Now I want to initiate, like first time itself I want to set some value, then I can go for address list of 2, this one, and I can give this 1 dot address line 1, and I can give this value. But here we are hard coding the index, which is very wrong. So we should be eliminating hard coding these indexes and all. So I am giving enter. Now what I will do is address list of 1. Instead of 1, what I will do is I will append. So this and this serves the same purpose if there are no values in address list. Suppose if you want address list is having some 3 records and you want address list of 2 to set some value. So my page list is having 3 records. Now in address list 2, I want to set some value. Okay, then in that scenario, what you can do is you can specify index and you can set the value. But if you want to add some values to a page list, it's very good option to use these functions. So append inserts an element at the end. Suppose now if there are three records and if I give a code like append, and these are case sensitive, so you should give in uppercase only. Otherwise, in backend Java code doesn't take this as a parameter, it will show an error. So now if I have three page lists and if I give like this append, then obviously in runtime it will create a fourth record. Okay, now another thing is uncurrent, it inserts an element in current loop. Last in a sense, it inserts an element in the last. So suppose for example here address list is having four records. I want to set address line 2 in address list 4. Then I should not use this. If I use this, what happens is address line 4 will have address line 1. As I use append again, what it does is address line of 5 has some value to address line 2, but our particular scenario we want to insert address line 2 in fourth element only. In that scenario what you will do is address list of append, this is like it will create fourth one for example, and here if you have to specify last. Then what is the highest index number to that particular index, this particular value will be set. That's what I have specified here. It inserts element in the last and which is the highest. Prepend. Prepend another, suppose if you are in address list 4 and you want to add address list 3, you want to replace that, you can give this prepend. So these are very useful syntaxes in data transforms while we are playing around with page list. Now there are some options called as append to and append and map to. Now if I click append to, so it will ask can I delete 3 child records which are nothing but 1.1 to 1.3. Append to. Append to is used to append some values to a page list. Suppose if it is address list, okay, and you want to create a new page, then you can give this. Otherwise, if you want to source the current page to some value, you can use this. Otherwise, you want to loop through some page list, like another page list we have, and you want to append some value, you can do this as well. And if you click here, you can give some when rule also over here. See, you can differentiate the records. Suppose there are 4 address list records, only when the source is having billing address, then only you want to append some values to another pages. In that scenarios you can use this, and you can define one when rule with some property that if address is equals to billing address, then only I want to consider appending this value. Like that you can do this. Yeah, that is about append to and for each page. And suppose you want some values to be appended on address list from an existing page, you can give this and you can define some page over here, and in that page you can refer those properties in this respect to page list. And now there is another thing called as append and map to. What is the difference between append to and append and map to is append and map to target and source can be of different pages, so there is no need like the here also it should be address list, the source can be some property list example. So the property definition can be of another thing also. So it is common interview question between append and map to. So append to we can copy page from source to target, and it should be of same class, but under append and map to we can define in same class and we can use of different class as well, like a page list from different class as well, which serves our purpose. And another thing, suppose if you are having a condition like if some condition met, then only I want to set some value. Otherwise you want to have some other condition else. No conditions are met, then we want to some other value. So it's nothing like in programming language of Java, .NET or somewhere. So we know if loop, right? Like that also we can achieve in data transforms. How it is, for example, let's go to this data transform. I'm setting some billing amount to this value. Okay. Now if I'm adding a condition, then I want billing amount uh, to be of different source. Otherwise also I can add, so which is nothing but when, otherwise when, otherwise. So when you use when, you can do is, suppose without using when you can't use otherwise when, during execution it will show error. Now if I want only two conditions like if or else, so I can give when and I can give otherwise. If there are multiple conditions, then I can go for when, otherwise when, and here. So this is if, else if, else. This is the way we can achieve in data transform. And another thing, you can call, you can define when rules directly over here. See, this is a when rule. This is a when rule, and you can call directly from a data transform. Otherwise, you can write some conditions here, like if dot billing amount is less than 0, like this also you can give conditions. As per good programming guidelines, it is better to use when conditions over here. And suppose if you want to call an activity from a data transform, which is very common interview question, then there are some functions you can use, like execute. See, execute an activity. If you give this, and you can define your activity name, so like this you can call an activity from a data transform. And suppose if you want to call a decision table from data transform, you can do that as well. So if you want to call a decision table, you can use this evaluate decision table function, and you can see the signature and from which library it is, this respective function. I will cover the functions mostly utilized in Pega in another Pega video, but for now we can call some functions, we can call some activities from a data transform like this. And what is this? Call super data transform. So here if you click, see, it was showing superclass data transform not found. For example, you have a data transform with the same name in zmart -zmart, and you want to execute both when in runtime, then you can give this call super data transform. So when you give this checkbox during execution time calls the data transform with the same name. The name of the data transform should be same in our pattern inheritance. For example, now I will create this map address reports. Okay, now with the same name we have same data, with the same name we have a data transform in this pattern inheritance. So if I click now, see, this particular data transform is referred. So if there are some functionalities that needs to be utilized in zmart hyphen some other class, and you want to customize respective to your implementation layer, you can use this option. So if you uncheck this during execution time, it won't call this particular data transform. If you want, you can give this superclass data transform option. But here the thumb rule is data transform name should be same in our parent classes in our inherit. If you have some parameters, example, I'm giving like file. Go to definition, and if you want to set some value, just give a down arrow like this. You can see param.file. Like this, you can use some parameters over here, and we can set some values to those parameters as well. If you are in a loop, here I'm in a loop, So once this value is set, I don't want this loop to be running for all the 4 records. So here address list is having 4 records. After first value set or exit the loop, you can use this exit for each. Okay, and there is a scenario like suppose here billing amount is set. After this billing amount is set, I want to exit the data transform. I can use this exit data transform. Then it leaves the execution after this step and it will exit this data transform. This is mostly about this. And suppose you are having an page list like 4 to 5 values you have set already. Okay, now you want to sort the values in the page list. Now there is an option called as sort. Once you give sort, it will ask what is the page list. I will give the page list name, and if you click on settings, it will ask what is the property I need to use for the sorting. Now if I want like px create datetime is a property, and I want to select which one, ascending or descending. So this is almost about data transforms, and another thing is where we can use this data transform. There are many places actually. Rule by rule, if I go, it would take long time, but normally for our execution, suppose if you take flow action, here you can use as pre data transform and post data transform. This is also one of the useful place where we are use data transform, and in flow also we can use data transform, and in the flow you can call with automations run data transform. If you give this, you can call a data transform here. You can select the respective data transform from here, and another thing is in activity. In activity we have separate step called as apply data transform. Method name is apply data transform. So you can call our respective data transform, and if you want to pass current parameter page, you can select this checkbox. Another place where we can call is like in flows only. Suppose once this particular assignment execution is done and you want to set some values, if you see here, you can select this capture address is a assignment, and in this connector you can call this, and you can set some values to that also. And you might be asking why we already have set properties, why we need data transform. See, properties only one or two properties, in a sense you can set some values over here, but if you want to set some 10 to 20 values, it's a good way of using a data transform and set some values over there. This is one of the use apart from this particular automation run data transform where we use in the flow. And suppose if you want to create a data page, there also you can use data transform as a source to your data page. If you scroll down source, if you see, there is a data transform, and parameters also you can give this parameters we want to pass. One of the way of using the data transform. If you have more queries about data transform, just go here, actions, get help, then Pega docs will be open, and you can see. And if you have some 10 to 50 steps, for example, yeah, here we have many steps, right? So if you want to collapse all, you can leave this. See, now all these steps are collapsed, and if you want to expand, you can use this option to expand all the steps. As you know, like there is parent child. Suppose this is approve registration, I want to do data propagation from parent case to child case. So for example here, for approve registration I have made a register as a child case. Then if I want to propagate some value, I can give this property value, and if you want to call a data transform, you can call this respective data transform over there. And if you want to see parameters, you can pass some parameters over here. So these are all the basic ways of calling a data transform or invoking a data transform and using that. So while we are in development phase, and we play around many options in the data transfer. Hope I have covered all the actions and all the places where we call the data transform. Please remember about this particular append and appendant map to difference. This is most commonly asked interview question, and not only that, how we call some functions from data transform or some activities. All this depends upon the libraries that we use, and these are all the syntaxes that are very helpful for us while we are looping with page list and multiple records of page list. Yeah, that's it for today. uh, Please provide your valuable feedback. This topic has been asked by one of the subscribers, so I did it.